Hi, it's JJ Conway. If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with a friend, all right? This helps me come up in Google and other searches over those scamsters that they promise that they'll help people get out of debt, but just take the money and run, all right? I'm here to help people, and you can help me help others by subscribing, sharing, and clicking that little bell so you'll get notified when I go live. Today, we're going to talk about the number one key to independent wealth. This secret has been found in ancient cultures throughout written history. It is the foundation to every 7, 8, and 9-figure earner that I know personally and is essential to guess who else? Warren Buffett's wealth. What is it? Glad you asked. Now, if you said buy low and sell high, you're close. That's his take on investing, and it will serve you well. His other maxim, not publicized because it doesn't sell courses or make gurus a whole lot of money, is to spend less than you make and invest the rest. That's it. The key to building wealth is spend less than you make and invest the rest. The first time I heard this, I was like, that's all well and good, but how exactly do I do that? Well, there's a lot of interesting teachings out there on the interwebs, but I know a lot of these financial gurus personally. And let me tell you, all the ones that are actually wealthy, as in independently wealthy, and their investments are kicking off $1 million a year or more, they spend less than they make. They save up for what they want to buy. They have a healthy emergency fund and they save up for purchases rather than go into debt. Or when they want a new car or something, they challenge themselves to create a new business venture and then buy the car from the profits off that venture. They invest in the stock market, typically in growth mutual funds and index funds, and they invest in paid for real estate. Not loans, not other people's money. Even the ones who teach you to do that, who are independently wealthy, don't do it. They just don't. Now, they may not tell you that, because if they told you that you don't have to, if they told you don't buy a Lambo until you're over $1 million net worth, well, they know you won't buy their stuff. And they also know that if they don't sell you on the ideas of infinite banking and all the cool jazzy loany things, then they know they're not going to get you to sign up for their overpriced program. Look, I don't want you to just look wealthy, driving the latest car, having the nicest house, carrying a Chanel purse, or taking extravagant trips. I want you to actually be wealthy so that when you do those things, they are a blessing, not a cursing when you come home to those payments. In my Wealth Matrix program, you will learn how to spend less than we make and invest the rest. Now, first, if you have debt, I want you to invest in yourself by paying that debt off. Sure, you can make 8 to 10% in the stock market right now, but some of those cards and student loans, every extra principal payment you make, it's like earning back 12, 15, 25%, 36% because that's what some of them are charging you. Go grab a credit card statement. All right? Look at the box on the back page. All right? Look at this box on the back page. Look at how much they are charging you. Right? This balance is $3,500. The minimum payment is $114. If you just paid the minimum payment, it would take you 14 years to pay it off. And that's better than some cards I've seen. And by the time all was said and done, you would have paid them $9,700. You know what you just did for this bank? You helped them transform $3,500 into almost $10,000. You did that for the bank. Isn't it time you did that for your own self? Imagine how much more you would enjoy life if you had that extra money in your pocket instead of putting it in the bank's pocket. And that leads to my rule. If I don't have it, I won't spend it. Simple as that, no matter how much it hurts. And y'all, I have been through some seasons of life where it hurts. It's how you get out of debt and begin building wealth. Spend less than you make, and if you don't have it, don't spend it. Now, once you're debt free, yeah, I'll teach you how to invest in tax free vehicles. And no, I'm not talking about insurance or infinity banking. I'm not talking about loans and interest. I'm talking about tax free, cold hard cash that you can pass on to your children, your charities, or anything, anyone you want. But for now, let's get on a spend plan and get out of debt. It's like paying yourself. Now, I'm a fan of two different types of spend plans. The steady spend plan for money you know is coming in every month, like a salary, a pension, maybe your social security or your paycheck if that paycheck doesn't change much. Now, if you've been with me for over a year, I used to call this the allocated spend plan. And that's still something you might see in some of the materials I send out. Okay. But I found that it was really confusing with people. So now we're calling it the steady spend plan. The second spend plan, which is the irregular one, or as I've started calling it, the crazy spend plan, is for people who never know in any given month what they're going to make. So, like salespeople, wait staff, small business owners, some months you make a ton, some months you make nothing. You can download an Excel spreadsheet that includes both the steady spend plan and the crazy spend plan at jjclink.com/spend plan. You can also use whatever is easy for you to put together spending plan with. But let's just overview what it is you're doing, and then we can work on how you're going to do it, what vehicle you're going to do it, what spreadsheet or document or pen and paper you're going to do that with. Let's start with the steady spend plan. On this, I want you to plan your money on paper before you get it. If I know I'm making $750 this week, I put 750 at the top and I work my way down through all the things I'm spending with that money until it's zero. And I do this for all the weeks that I know what I'm getting paid. And this way I have a plan to make sure everything's covered each month. So maybe the first week my mortgage is due and that's $700. So I put 750 at the top and all I have left to spend that week is 50. Ooh, I better have done some good planning last month or my family gonna be eating beans and rice all week. I'm joking, but not joking. My house is paid for. I appreciate that. Texas has a very beautiful exclusion for sales tax for veterans. I appreciate that. But when I was 22, I moved, and the person living in the previous apartment, they sent me all my mail in one big bundle. Well, my new bank card and the pin to that new bank card were in there. And a neighbor took that out of the bag and cleaned out my account. Thankfully, the cameras in the hall matched the camera at the ATM, and they were not only able to take him to jail, but they were able to get my money back. But this took time. And the first week, I was like, oh, I have no money, but it's okay. I trust the Lord. And Pastor put gas in my car, and First Lady made me a double plate of food to take home from Bible study. Oh, the cops will get my money back soon. I'm trusting the Lord. It's going to be a great testimony. Yeah. The second week, Pastor deploys. And First Lady, she's super sweet, y'all, keeps feeding me, sending me home with large plates of food after Bible study. But week three, and I say Bible study, but we had church like every night. So it was like they were feeding me like 3 or 4 times a week, okay? And then the portions began to get smaller week three, and there weren't any leftovers for me to take home after Bible study. And I finally got the hint, I think in week four, that this season of her covering me through this financial hardship was over. Now, that's not a dig or a shade, okay? I appreciate her taking care of me when I was too dense to realize I had worn out my welcome, all right? So I go home that night and I figure out what I can do. I got some flour, a little bit of jelly, and a thing of oatmeal. You know, the old fashioned kind you got to cook for like 20 million hours. So I bought it to make cookies, but I'd never opened it. So it just sat there. Now, as an aside, some of you have access to tools, nutrients, relationships, and all sorts of things that would help you. But because they are too much effort to actually implement, they're doing you no more good than that can of oats was doing me on that counter. So I'm hungry. I'm on week four of no money. I'm selling stuff at the consignment store to buy gas. This is not looking good, okay? You know what I discovered? It turns out you can do a lot with a bag of flour and some water, especially since I had some salt and pepper and a little bit of sugar. Never mind the fact that they were packets from the restaurants, but I had them and I had some yeast, so you can make bread. So I made bread. You can make noodles. Now I like noodles with eggs better, but trust me, you can make some noodles with flour and water and season them with some ketchup packets from the cafeteria. Yes, I hear my Italian grandmother rolling over in her grave as I say that. Seriously though, you can do a lot to feed yourself with flour and water. And if you have flour, water, and jelly, ooh, you can make homemade pump tarts. Now they weren't that awesome, but they were okay. And that got me through another week. Then I was down to the oats and I still didn't have any money. Now, if you've been in the military, you know that the military gets paid, right? We get paid every 2 weeks or once a month if we have our checks set up that way. And I got paid once a month. But when you have outstanding bills and you owe the military, guess what they like to do? They like to reach in and pull that money right back out of your account. So I'm down to the oats. I have no money and I have no idea how long this is going to take to resolve. The bank and the cops and everybody's telling me it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. We're going to get your money back. We were able to catch him. We got a confession. We got the video, all the things. We just have to do the things and we have to do more things. And eventually we'll do enough things. You'll have your money back. Y'all, I ate that canister of oatmeal for 7 days. You hear what I said? 7 days. I was down to my last scoop, and it was the weekend. So I wasn't going to be able to sweet talk the lady at the school cafeteria into giving me some day old stuff from the bakery case. 7 days. When I tell you I never had oatmeal again after this until I was 31, I really mean I never had oatmeal again after this. No oatmeal cookies, no blueberries and cream. I shuddered every time I saw oatmeal in the grocery store. I never had oatmeal again till I was 31, and I probably wouldn't have had, except that my miracle baby was born and my milk production was declining too fast. And guess what? Oatmeal's good for that. So I had some, got my milk back up, and then I never had it again until my second miracle baby came along 10 years later. Now look, I've asked the Lord to heal my heart, so I'll eat oats now, especially if I'm traveling and it's one of the healthier options available. But 7 days of oatmeal, and on the weekend, oatmeal for breakfast, oatmeal for lunch, oatmeal for dinner. And by now, my tank is on E again. Pastor's deployed. I didn't have the heart to ask First Lady for any more help. Everybody else in our church lived an hour away. 7 days of oatmeal. I didn't know what I was gonna do. Car out of gas. I barely made it to class. And then that Monday after my class, I was in grad school. I was regular duty Air Force, but they were paying me to go to college. Well, I wasn't getting paid at that moment. But that Monday, y'all, after I got out of class, I saw that they had put the money back in my account and I praised the Lord with everything in me. So when I tell you, don't spend what you don't have, I am not just saying that. I've lived it. I came home from deployment to find my house sold, stuff thrown out, divorce papers, and the next thing you know, I'm a single military mom with 800 something thousand dollars of debt. I've lived it, so I know you can do it. It's not easy, but you can do it. You can do it. So before you get your paycheck and going as far as you can project that you know you've got paychecks coming in, you are going to fill in your steady spend plan. I made $1,000 this week. I'm going to put that towards my rent and the rest towards groceries. Next week, another $1,000. I'm going to put that towards, I put 300 toward my car note and 150 toward gas and utilities, and so on and so forth until the entire $1,000 is spent on paper. Larry Burkett used to call us give every dollar a name. I like to say we're giving every dollar some meaning. Not $1 that we bring home is going to sit listlessly wondering if it's ever going to get spent. And if we don't need it for this week, trust me, we're putting it in savings, but we're writing that down. We're not doing this, oh, if I have anything left over, I'll put it in savings. Because that usually results in nothing going to savings. Because something always happens unless you are intentional about your money. So we're gonna give every dollar a meaning. We're gonna build savings into every paycheck, even if it's $10 or $20 a week. We're gonna build a habit of savings. We're gonna build a habit of giving so we can stay grounded as we grow more abundant. And how much you set aside is really going to depend on what you make and what your goals are, right? But it's all different, but the principles don't change. Another client came to me who only made 400 a month. She was happy. She had a roommate and we crafted a plan that worked for her on only 400 a month and then charted out a plan to increase her side hustle income so she could eventually move out on her own. The steady plan helps you make sure that you are covered with the things you need with your money before you get your money in your hands. You plan it on paper, change it up if needed, but you plan it on paper so every dollar has a job, every dollar has a meaning. And that's the steady spend plan. Next, I want to talk to you about the crazy spend plan. The crazy spend plan is how you plan for money when you're not sure how much you're going to make. Maybe you work on commission. Maybe you work on tips only. Maybe you have a service business like plumbing or hair care, or you have a seasonal service business like flooring or roofing. Some months you might make $1,000 and other months you might make $50,000. In the crazy spend plan, you make a priority list of everything you want and need. And next to each item, you put down how much it costs. Then, as the money comes in, you spend down the list. So, for example, you made an extra $1,000 in commission this month. Maybe your first priority would be getting your car note caught up. Or maybe you're doing okay financially, and your first priority with an extra $1,000 would be taking your kid to Six Flags, or maybe going to a personal growth conference or a spa day or funding your Christmas gifts. You know, Christmas does come December 25th every year. Every year we get to December and people are like, oh, it's Christmas. And I resemble people. I am people. So maybe you set it aside for funding your Christmas gifts. And as more money comes in, you just keep working your way down the list. I'm on the team at SportsCon, which is an annual event in Dallas. And one time I escorted Rocket Ismail, y'all. And at one of our stops, he met a young Steelers player. And because I'm a Steelers fan, man, I was thrilled when Rocket paused to mentor him. He told the young man to get a plan together to save his money from day one and not to fall into the temptation that the other players do. Rocket told him, you never know when you're going to get injured and end your career. Take care of business now with your first couple of paychecks, and then you'll be okay in the future no matter what happens. And it was really strange how Rocket saw him and heard that he was a new player, and he swung around like, I'm trying to escort him to his next thing. It was so important to him that he swung around, delayed our opportunity to get to where we needed to go with these high level sponsors, and mentored this young man. Do you know that that player was injured toward the end of the season and released from his contract after his very first year? And I saw an update on him. I forget his name, y'all. It's been a while, but I saw an update on him, how his house was paid for, and he was doing well. Could you imagine where he would be if he hadn't listened to Rocket's advice? If, instead of taking care of business first, he spent it on chains and cars and women like so many other ballers? You must have a plan that puts your family, your calling, and your dreams first. Otherwise, it's too easy to get caught up in lifestyle spending and then feeling like we don't have enough. You gotta tell your money where to go instead of stressing about where it went. So right now we're going to try this concept of crazy spend planning real quick. I'm going to teach you how to do some crazy spend planning. I want you to grab a piece of paper and something to write with. In the next 10 seconds, I want you to write down the first 5 things that come down to your mind that you would buy if you made a ton of extra money this year, this month. Don't think, just write. Don't edit, just write. You can always change your answers later. Boom, 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 boom. What if I got an extra $1,000 this month? What would I do? I would buy this for my business. I would go on this trip. I would book this trip. I would do, I mean, whatever it is. I would go here with my kids. I would pay off some bills. I would book time in a recording studio. Whatever it is that's important to you. Okay. I would take my kids to see the new UFL opening weekend, right? Like whatever it is that's important to you. Now, real quick, look at the list that you've made and put a number one next to the most important, number two to the next important, and keep going until you get to number five, the least important. Guess what? Now you have a priority list of things that you would want to buy. Now, if you know how much they are, write down next to each one how much they cost. And if you don't know, this is just an exercise. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just guess. You can be more thorough when you're doing this for real, okay? This is just a quick exercise to get you used to the concept. Once you have your prioritized list of things you'd buy with the next big chunk of money, now you have your very first crazy spend plan. And when the money comes in, you start with the number one priority item on your list and you make your way down the list, buying things until the money is all spent. It sounds crazy if you've never done this before, hence the name, but it really, really works, especially for my entrepreneurs that are on 100% commission base or 100% of their own generation. You don't have any steady money coming in. You don't have a salary, you don't have a base pay, you don't have anything. If you don't kill it, you can't cook it, right? That's the kind of situation that this is essential in. A lot of times when we're in these situations where we don't know how much money is coming in from week to week, we feel like a victim and we feel like we can't possibly get control of our money. But by prioritizing the things that need to be paid for, is the money comes in. For example, rent, that's a big one. Mortgage, if you're buying, right? As we do that prioritization, we have basically now taken our power back and taken control over our money. So together, the steady spend plan and the crazy spend plan, they help you make sure that you are spending less than you make. You have the power and you actually had it all the time. You just didn't know that how you could do it. Some of you were afraid of what others think, and now you know they don't get a vote. Some of you were worried that your kids would be scarred if they didn't have the latest and greatest, and now you realize that you didn't want them to be like those so-called friends at school anyway. Once you've got yourself a plan to spend less than you make, it's time to focus on an emergency fund. Notice I didn't say once you start spending on less than you make. Let's be real. For many of us, it's going to take a couple months to get the spend plan right. We're going to stumble and fumble, and that's normal. So we're not waiting for perfection. We're going to do our best, but while we're working through that, while we're discovering that $20 a week isn't realistic for food, or gas, while we're learning those kinds of things, we're also building our emergency fund. If I had had an emergency fund back then, I would have had something to carry me through when the thief stole everything out of my checking account. I wouldn't have needed someone to put gas in my car or feed me. I would have been better able to weather that storm. A lot of times people ask me what they should have in their emergency fund, and I'm going to tell you it really depends. Now, I used to teach that you should have $500 in your emergency fund if your income was less than 2,000 a month, and $1,000 in your emergency fund over that. But it also depends on other factors. If you're living paycheck to paycheck and you have two rent homes, right? And you don't have any business savings for those rent homes, then $1,000 is not going to cut it, because a water heater blows out at one of the rent homes, that's $2,500. The AC goes out, that could be $10 to $15,000 to replace. Maybe even 30,000 if you get sucked into one of these "we come anytime and fix it right away" ads. Please do not do that. You better go get you $100 window unit from the hardware store and wait for the guy who will take a couple weeks to order the parts, but will get your price down to 6,000. All right. So let's use a rule of thumb. If you're below poverty level, then I'm going to say start with $500. I know it seems impossible when I say start with $500. But remember what we talked about in the previous video series about C-type goals. It's got to be something that feels right, but also feels impossible. For everybody else, I'm going to recommend at least $1,000. And really, I prefer 1 month of expenses. I think there's a certain level of calm and peace that comes when you know that if something happened to you today, that you would be able to sustain your family for a month. So that's my preference, but at least $1,000, unless you're below poverty level, then I'm going to recommend 500. Now, 1 month of expenses doesn't mean all the extras, right? So if you lose your job tomorrow, you do not need to go out and eat. You probably don't need to buy new clothes. Now, you might be concerned about hair and nails, but you can do a lot of beauty things yourself temporarily. I found out over COVID that I'm probably going to prioritize my nails and hair as a professional speaker, because to look raggedy might cost me another gig. Now, at the same time, though, I'm probably also pulling my little one out of rec sports and art classes and start using those supplies his auntie got him. Instead of being like, I value my time too much to waste it cleaning up, I'd probably cut the maid service and get my family involved in cleaning up. Instead of going to Six Flags, we'd probably go to the park more. It's a temporary season. And we do what we got to do so that we can live by the number one key to building wealth, which is to spend less than we make and invest the rest. You get through that season by tightening the belt and doing what it takes and getting intense about what it takes to get out of debt. So that 1 month of expenses is going to be things like rent, mortgage, car note, insurance, medical insurance, electric, gas, water, trash, sewer, things like that. Now, notice I did not say internet and cable. I'm putting my internet and cable on vacation plan for a few months. And yeah, they'll charge you $5 a month, but that's at least $300 I don't have to spend while I'm looking for work and not sure how I'm going to feed my family. I'm canceling all the subscriptions and I'm going to my local library for entertainment. Y'all, they have tons of media, games, videos, all the things. And if the library doesn't have Wi-Fi, I'm sitting outside Panera or Starbucks and I'm using their Wi-Fi until I get another job. Now let me just aside for a minute. Someone asked me one time, why do I go to Starbucks when I teach on how what most people spend on Starbucks could result in $2 million if they invested that money over their 20 years? I go to Starbucks because one, I don't pay for it that often. Ever since I first time I gave that talk, people have always bought me Starbucks cards as a gift because they know I love it and it's a nice treat, right? And two, when I travel, I want to make sure that my food and drinks sit well with my system. Look, I'll be adventurous after the speaking engagement is over, but not until then. Not until I'm on my way home. Number three, and this is the one that really gets me. I'll never forget how many hours I sat outside of Starbucks researching for my early books, or sitting inside nursing that one cup of hot tea all day while using their Wi Fi. Starbucks, Panera, Whataburger, Shreveport Community Church. I ran my business from their free Wi Fi when I was $800,000 in debt. Starbucks the most. And so I don't have a problem paying $8 for a cocoa from them because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't be able to afford it today. So we're spending less than we make. And if we don't have it, we don't spend it. We're using our steady spend plan and our crazy spend plan to make sure that we have planned as best as we can to make sure we don't spend more than we make. And we're saving at least 1 month's essential expenses, not luxuries or nice to haves, but essentials in our emergency fund before we do anything else financially. No biz ops, no investing, no 401k, none of that. Oh, I can't believe she said that. Look, this step only takes 1 to 3 months, so don't worry about the interest you might lose in the market. I'll show you the math some other time, but getting that savings account together will do you a whole lot better than those 1 to 3 months of 401k match and interest, even if your boss is matching it. Trust me, I've been there. Keep working on your reverse spend plan and craft your C-type goal. And if you have them done from weeks 1 and 2, hey, now y'all know the content is free, but the access has a fee. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you won't see my contact info. If you're already a group or private coaching client, then you should have received a different version of this video that includes the contact information. I snipped it out of this one. All right. So you'll also find it in your welcome kit. And if you'd like my contact info, please join our group coaching at jjclink.com/group. And get started on your steady and crazy spend plans. And if you need help putting those together, remember, I can work with you on that during our group coaching call every first Tuesday, 11 a.m. Central. Remember, it's more important to get it done than it is to make it perfect. Next week, we'll talk about protecting yourself and getting out of debt. Now, if you're like me and you like to binge watch everything, you don't have to wait till the next week to watch the next video. Simply go to YouTube/C/JJ Knows the Way, or go to YouTube at symbol JJ Knows the Way and click the playlist Coaching Welcome. I'm JJ Conway. Y'all take care and be blessed.